All right, welcome to the You Amaze Me recording. I'm Amanda Baker, and this is a sacred space for where story meets soul and soul meets story. Essentially, my stream of consciousness that acts as a mirror to opening up into you. And today we have a wonderful visitor. So, Flory Hiatrides, welcome. She has 40 some years of experience, I believe, in the business mathematician world, 20 some years of experience with manifestation and mindfulness. And I'm so excited to have you here just to share a little bit about the work that you do and as well as how we came to be. I think our story of how we met is its own synchronicity in itself. So, do you want to share a little bit about how you and I came to meet, or I'm welcome to share my perspective?
Yeah, I want to say a few words about sacred space and synchronicity, and then you can tell them exactly kind of how we came together in
Yes.
a synchronous, sacred way, right? I think
Yes.
the word space is used so often and it's, I think, misused sometimes, right? I think space and I love that you call this sacred space, right? In other words, what that means is you can be vulnerable and you can
Yes.
be yourself and it's comfortable. Even if you're uncomfortable, it's a comfortable space, right? I also love Wayne Dyer. I have a few of his books over here who talks
Me
about
too.
the gap, which is the same thing as space. So I talk a lot about the gap and I refer to it the way Wayne Dyer does, which is the gap between a thought and an emotion. And that there's a very tiny space, very tiny gap between having a thought and attaching an emotion. Now, some people think thoughts are negative, some are positive. No, thoughts are neutral.
Hmm.
Thoughts are neutral. What you attach to it is the emotion. So, you get a flat tire. Most people think that has to be a bad thing. I'm going to attach a negative emotion, but no, it doesn't have to be,
It
right? You
doesn't.
could pivot, it could save you from something else. But I love the concept of the space, the gap between your thought and emotion. I also love it in meditation, right? What we're talking about is space and clean space, if you will. So when you say sacred space, so much gets conjured up for me. All of it, however, is about awareness.
Yes. Yes.
All of it's awareness, because if you're not aware you're having thoughts, you don't have a gap.
Hmm.
You don't have a space if you're not aware. And the last thing I want to say about that one word is
Well, of course. Of course.
all of the mindfulness literature talks about if we can be the watcher of our thoughts and if we can be the watcher of our existence, then we have the key to something. Okay, that's my opening.
I love it right there. The wisdom coming through. And I sense that some of it, and you can tell me kind of the difference as we're already just diving into like the deep like I call it kind of nuggets of wisdom or gems or gold, the depth of it, of the difference of speaking from more of a flow state versus from thought. Because what I notice in myself when I come in here, there's the gap and the sacred space that I feel like just exist as soon as I hit record and I step into it, where I'm not as aware of my thought. I'm just speaking, like none of this was planned. Whereas sometimes when I go into meditation and I'm taking that like broad view, I'm observing my thought. And I distinguish, and I've said this in other recordings, the difference between speaking from your voice, like your throat, versus speaking from thought. And I see them or feel them, interpret them as different.
I hear you. Absolutely. There's a lot of words for it. First of all, I speak from flow because that's my name, right? So that's an easy
Glory,
thing.
flow. Uh-huh.
Flow,
I'm not
right?
surprised.
And
I can
what I
tell.
think is hard for people, they hear a lot of this mindfulness, mysticism, spirituality, meditation. They hear it all, but knowing and hearing is not the same as doing, right? So what I say is it's not enough to know, you have to know how. And we'll get into this with my background because I'm a mathematician and scientist by training. It's
Yes.
always about great. Think about the space, figure out the difference between flow state and thought. But then how do I do that in my everyday life when my mother calls me and she takes me out of my zone, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'm really big on those tools to do what we are actually talking about now. And what we're really saying is, how do you create a sacred space every day for yourself?
For yourself every day. And it's what
And
people want. I know it.
right.
Hmm.
And then it kind of oozes out to your family, and then your house becomes a sacred space, right? So that's kind of really the goal. All right, you tell them how we met, and then we'll go back.
Yeah, and we'll backtrack. Yes. So if I go back to months ago, I have these shirts that are a part of my, you could say logo or brand, but really it's a saying. For years, 5 years ago, I started ending my captions on what I posted in poetry on social media with the statement, "You amaze me." I did it once and it stuck. And so then every caption had that ending of just, I'm amazed by life, the fascination, the awe, and in people. And really being able, in the work that I do now, is connecting with people in a way that brings access to their gifts, their talents, their intuition, and their natural abilities, their magic, which to me is amazing that we really have that power. And so that then other people started sharing and saying to me, "Amanda, you amaze me." It just grew. It led to shirts. How do I get these shirts out there? I joined this platform where I could put my shirts on the platform. And then if other people who were considered influencers wanted to purchase the shirt and then share it on their page, they would. And so that's what happened. A woman, Francine, took my shirt, shared it on social media. She looked at my page, I guess felt a resonance with what I was doing and said, "I have to connect Amanda with Flory." And she just bridged us out of nowhere, or we could say out of synchronicity, because of our similarities, the way that you use words, your business, awe, right, which translates to awakened events, the way that I use words, intention, breaking it down in tension, that we have to experience tension in our bodies and be in discomfort in life for our dream to kind of come into fruition or into manifestation. And I use that with so many words, and we haven't even really talked about that so much, but you do too. And so when we just started talking and having conversations, it just felt aligned to collaborate more together.
Yeah, shout out to Francine Tesler. She's a spiritual, psychic, matchmaker, business strategist, which means she points you in the right direction, which is what she did for us,
Oh
right?
yeah.
She
Yes.
actually basically said, I have an intuition. You both have a business. I'm going to use all my abilities to connect you. You know, when it comes to words, the one I didn't share, well, I have so many. I'm my own little dictionary, because I think we're missing lots of times, right in front of us. It's like an Easter egg hunt, in my opinion, where the eggs are right there on the lawn. And
Mhm.
sometimes we're not, missing the obvious, or the Wizard of Oz, right? You had the power all along. I love
Roll
these
on you.
analogies, right? We could
Mhm.
always go home. We just feel we need external, circumstances. I love the Wizard of Oz concept. But what I wanted to tell you is, I say quite often that what we're here to do is to sort through the maze that is
Mm,
our life. And so you
mm,
have a maze, right?
yep.
So it's right
Mm,
there that we are ready to be amazed by maneuvering through our maze, right? Which is all the people and all the places. When I talk to people about staying in their vortex, which, as Abraham Hicks says, is your moment when you are tuned in, turned on, tapped in, right? It's when
mhm.
all good things are happening. Esther Hicks, ask it, it is given, right?
Yep.
And people will say to me, "Oh, it's easy for you, Flora. You live where, you have this, but you don't know my job, and you don't know my mother, and you don't know my children." And the truth is, none of that is really relevant, right? Because we have the power to stay in this elevated state, or at least know when we're out and get back in. The goal is not to stay there all the time, because then we would be not of this earth, right? But
Mhm.
nonetheless, it's a lot of people feel there's reasons they want to justify,
Oh, for
why they can't be there. And that alone is a negative energy.
and they can cling to that story. And as a therapist myself, and what I've recognized over years in working with people is, initially in psychoanalysis, was all about share your history, let's analyze, let's or even the trauma based work. What's your trauma? Can you share your story? And there's value in sharing, our stories, but we don't need to hone in on every little detail, especially when all we are in is in the present. And so getting into the present state of higher frequency, higher vibration and elevation, to be in that vortex, even with an uncomfortable or negative feeling, can we pair with that negative feeling a place of compassion that then kind of rises you to then step into that vortex
Absolutely. And there's a difference between sharing and clinging to our
and cling.
story.
Oh,
Right.
completely.
And
Yes.
again, I got to go back to Wayne, one of my favorites. Wayne Dyer says, the wake of the boat doesn't drive the boat. And the wake is the trail, and the trail is your past.
Mm.
And it doesn't drive the future. It's the present energy
Wisdom.
of the engine and the motor. And as a matter of fact, I'm involved in a new project. So that my third poster over there, go ride.
Ooh.
So I'm a fractional CEO for a new company, and it's all about boating and marina management and rental operations. So I got a lot of boat themes going on in my head, you know,
Hmm.
get on board, but go full throttle. But this about the wake doesn't drive the boat. When I'm on a boat all the time and I look behind, I'm like, wow, that's so true. It's the present energy of the engine at the moment. And the present energy analogy is your thoughts in the moment, is your thoughts in the moment. And if your thoughts in the moment are always about the past, you know,
Hmm.
Joe Dispenza, where's Joe? He's another
Yep.
one of my
Love
favorite,
Joe.
right? I can hear him channeling right now. You know, you cannot live a new life if you are in the past. You know, you have to rewire, refire. You need new thoughts.
Yes.
So, one other thing I want to mention, you know, you said psychology and therapy, something we call in the mindful world, we call BRT, a better reaching thought, which is pivoting the thought. In psychology, it's called cognitive reframing.
Hmm.
And guess what? In business, it's called growth mindset. So
All all the
it's
same thing, just different words.
all the same thing. So instead of I make too many mistakes, we frame it, pivot it, growth mindset it, and it becomes I learn from my mistakes, and obviously I can grow, and I'm grateful for them. But that analogy in all disciplines is prevalent. You know, the business people think the mindful people are, you know, poor and selling pamphlets, and the mindful people think the business people don't have any values and groundedness. And the truth is, we're all saying the same thing in our discipline.
Yes. Yeah. So if we can, as opposed to being so separate and opposite and polarized, it's not necessarily just let's meet in the middle. It's opening up to the space that bridges the two. Because there's benefit, there's value, there's insights in both. And that's essentially what you've done. So share, if you're open to it, the story of how your business came about.
Yeah, so by training, I'm a mathematician, scientist, MBA, finance. So I have a undergrad's math, computer science, MBA is finance, and I have two doctorates in business. Everything's in analytics. Everything is I can solve it, see it, and then believe it. Algorithm, formula, simultaneous equations. I got it. And then when I turned 40, God in the universe and whoever you might believe in had a different plan. So I was expecting my first child when I was 40. And again, I thought I had it all figured out. And then literally on April 6th of the year 2000, I sold my company. So I was headed to Japan, and I only sold my company because I was expecting a child. And on that day that I was selling the company, I miscarried and my dad passed away. So I had to get on the plane. I went to Japan. I sold the company. I came back, and I didn't have a company, a child, or a dad. And I didn't have a formula. I didn't have a way out of the pain. And it made me realize that the way I had been living algorithmically, if you will,
Hmm.
was not really going to work at this moment. So I went on my own mindful spiritual journey. I want to say 20 years, but the truth is it never ends, right?
Hmm. Right.
And I realized, I learned, I went to every modality, read every book, theta healing, hypnosis, sound bath, you know, name it. There's so many ways we can heal ourselves. And I did them all and healed myself for that time. And then realized the secret sauce is mindfulness with the business skills.
Mm.
So see it and believe it is the opposite paradigm. It's really you believe it and then you see it. But what's really beautiful is you believe it and then you see it. And then to implement it, you need the other skills, right?
Yes, you still
So
need them.
you know, you think about it, I love mindset, I love all the modalities, but let's say, you know, what's keeping you down is, you know, you want to be a neurosurgeon. Well, you can mindful yourself till you're blue in the face if you don't go to school, you know, and if you don't set a plan, it's not going to happen, right? However, if you want, you go to school, but you don't have the right mindset, well, then you're not going to be great either. So I am really such a fan of both of these disciplines. I mean, you can see behind me the puzzle. You know, your life is really five pieces, and going in order, it stands for your body, your relationships, your goals, your work, and your spirit. And if you have pain or joy in one, you have pain or joy in all, inevitably,
They're
right?
just
So
integrated,
the
like the puzzle pieces.
backstory, yeah, and, you know, we have all these sayings, you know, turn your trauma into triumph and wounds into wisdom. And the analogy I use is my slingshot, right? If
Okay.
you
Uh-huh.
if you want this to go really far forward, you've got to pull it really far back. So my kind of quick way of saying that is you're not being set back, you're being set up.
Oh, I feel that. Yes.
And
Yes.
so what we want people to know is that when they think they're being set back, they need to really analyze it, do that BRT, cognitive reframing, whatever we want to call it. And they need to realize they're learning something that they're going to value in the future, but they can't see it now. Because as
Yeah.
much as we want to be eagles, sometimes we're ants. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we don't get that view. We don't know what's around the corner. We need to have faith. So nonetheless, all of the trauma that was put in my path was very clearly orchestrated for me to be right now here at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I'm sure that there was so much hardship and grief and pain in that. I'm curious, do you believe that you would be here now if none of that happened?
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I would say to anyone, you are the complement. When people say to me, I'm not happy with this, okay? I'm not happy
Hmm.
with the job, okay? And then I say, do you have children? Which is emotional relationships. And they're like, yes. I said, well, would you trade the kids? They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if we changed your job 5 years ago, you might not have the kids you have. Okay. So you can't really say if I want to change one thing.
Right,
So
right.
the starting point for people to realize is if there's anything in your life you're grateful for, that might have been changed if things had happened differently.
Differently.
Right.
Yes. Yes. So so much of this is being okay where you are in the moment, while also having the faith that what you vision for yourself is possible, and that through the mindset work, through the mindfulness work, that you're being led there. And then I view, going back to pulling synchronicity in, is just, it's whether it's assurance, whether it's confirmation. Tell me your take, because I watched a little talk that you did on synchronicity. It was like almost like spoken word poetry. It was incredible. You're so talented in that. But when you experience synchronicity, what happens for you? And if you want to share with the audience who might not fully know what synchronicity's definition is, if you feel open to sharing that too.
Yeah, I mean, most people think synchronicity is luck or chance, and the reason a lot of people want to call it that is then they don't have to hold themselves accountable if they don't have it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that victim mentality, and misery loves company. And if I'm out there in the lake and I'm not in the vortex, but you're with me, then we're both better, right?
Yeah.
We're better together, miserable, because there's no contrast to what we should be. So the point is, when someone says, "Oh, that was lucky for you," they're really insulting your ability to manifest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So what's in my world, I brought into my world.
Hmm.
And the negative people in your world, anyone out there, you're bringing them in. And so there's another analogy, my favorite, another one, the boomerang, right? If you throw it well, it comes back. Well, that's the same as your energy. Whatever you put out, you are getting back, and it's reflected in people. Okay, so what is synchronicity if it's not luck and chance? It's really the divine alignment of a few variables, and that's what you're referring to. Because I'm a mathematician by training, I love
Love
having
it.
a little formula. Because if you have a formula, even if it's not exactly accurate, you can think it through. So the formula that I gave that you watched in that competition I was in, I gave 5 variables, right? I talked about alignment, emotional intelligence, and vibration. Those were the 3 good parts of the formula, right? If this was algebra, we'd say you want to keep those on the positive. And then there's
Hmm.
negatives that you want to get rid of or minimize, and that's your negative thoughts and your limiting beliefs. So you want to add these up, and then you want to subtract and divide by these. And the truth is, I could define them very quickly. Alignment is your thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs. If those are not all going in the right direction and identical, you're not going to get what you want. So if you're saying, I want abundance, but you are living action wise where you are not demonstrating that, and you have a belief in your head that no way that's going to happen, we all know. We watch something, we say something, and in our head, it's like, oh no, that's full of
Yep.
crap. That's
Yep.
not going to happen. I could never own a Porsche, whatever. So alignment is thoughts, words, actions, and beliefs. And you add that to emotional intelligence, which is another 5-day seminar. But emotional intelligence is, are you aware of who you are? And do you act appropriately? And then you raise it to a power of vibration. What are you emanating? Then
Hmm.
you subtract your negative thoughts. We have a lot of them per day. If we have time, we can talk about it. And then you divide by your limiting beliefs. So the bottom line is for people to take an inventory of those 5 variables. How many of your thoughts, what percentage of your thoughts are negative? So I'm
Mm.
not sure if you're aware, but statistically, research based, we have 60,000 thoughts a day.
I use the same statistics with my clients. Yep.
Right. And over 92% are negative, which means you're not going to be in the flow. You're not going to be in the vortex if your thoughts are negative. You're not reframing. You're not pivoting. So, synchronicity, to then sum that up, is the awareness of your alignment, your application of emotional intelligence, how you're emanating, how many negative thoughts you have, and how many limiting beliefs you have. And keeping the 2 negative ones minimized and the 3 positive ones maximized. And if you do that, you will attract. As a matter of fact, if you were local, I would have obviously asked you to join my networking group. It's called, however, not a networking group. It's called a net walking group. And my nephew helped me coin that word, because when you are vibrating so high and you live synchronicity life, people come up to you and say, what do you do? It's not network. It's not work. You're just walking around being you, and people are attracted to you.
Yes, yes. And I love that. Just no longer stepping into things from a place of working. When we even have that association, that's why our thoughts are so powerful, because each word has a vibration, a tone, an energy, and and then we pair our emotions to it. And so we can also change the frequency around a word, or change the word slightly from work to walk. And if walking is fluid and easy for you, why not? Why not use that word? And that's what you're doing. And that's why this stuff I think is so powerful, and why metaphors as interventions or tools and resources really land for people in making more integral change on the internal level within themselves.
Yeah, you listen, everybody says to me after they come to the seminar, or multiple seminars or weekend retreats or whatever coaching we do, I want my family to feel better now. And I'm like, you know what? We all know the saying, the best way to empower people is to be empowered.
Mm-hmm.
And if the research behind it, David Hawkins' map of consciousness, you can raise the power of the vibration of the people around you if you raise yours even one little bit. So you don't have to worry about working to get people to change. You have to just be the change,
Yes, that's the
right?
mirroring. I talk about mirroring work, and even you and I, right? We came together because I believe our vibration attracted that through Francine, because there has to be some kind of whether we say divine or like catalyst that brought us together. How else would we have met? Well, she through her. Yeah.
Well, you know what? What you just said is, it was orchestrated in the 5D, but it had to be implemented in the 3D, because that's where we live. And
Yes.
that's where the business side comes in. I don't want people to think, you just sit in your house and you
Mhm.
manifest, everything shows up at your door. Now, yes, sometimes it literally shows up at your door. I have a few good examples. But my big thing is, you got to get out. You got to show up at places. I have my 3. You've got to show up, stand up, and follow up, right?
Mhm.
You got to show up at events. You don't have to work, but you have to show up
Walk to
and
them.
then
Mhm.
walk around. And that's what the stand up is, right? Be present when you are there. Interact. Don't go hide in the corner. And then you got to follow up. It blows my mind how many people go to events and then they don't follow up,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So if you are giving, and the other misconception is about surrender. People are be like, I'm not doing anything, I'm surrendering. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Surrender happens after you do 100,000% inspired action.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then you surrender to how the universe delivers it.
Thank you for saying that. And I want people to really take that in. I was even going to say this before with the synchronicity kind of outline that you get. Like, I'm inviting the listeners to rewind and go back and re-listen. So this is really getting in there, and also to support or inspire their action and their engagement, and then the surrender of, okay, I'm not exactly sure what the outcome is going to be, but I did all of this from this state of alignment. And so I'm trusting that the outcome might not be what I imagine it to be, but it might even be better. Mm-hmm.
And this is where the business world, right? So in my old life, the business world, you set these goals and you hang on to them no matter what, right? And that's where the surrender part comes from. You do the effort, you do the work, you do the learning. Effort's probably not a good word. You do the intentions, you do the learning, you do the meeting, and then you sit back and don't hold on. Don't hold on. Detach. It doesn't mean detach from the learning and the work. It means
Right.
detach from
Right.
how it's coming. A perfect example is, I've been teaching and facilitating my entire life, and then COVID came along, right? And yeah, sure, I did some Zoom things, but it's not my strength. Listen, I'm fine on Zoom, but I love people. I love being around people. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I wonder how I'm going to be able to teach into my like 90s, like how, because I was going to Manhattan, driving to New York City, wearing the heels, carrying the bags, parking the car, it was a young woman's game. And as I was getting older, I was like, well, I'm still good, but how am I going to do this till I'm 90? Right. And I
Mm-hmm.
set intentions and I developed new courses. I did all of what I could do.
Yes.
And then a series of events happened that showed me that I can do these events at my home.
Look at
And
that.
now most of what I do, I mean, I still
That's what
travel,
you're doing.
is
Mm-hmm.
I do it at my home. Like I'm inviting you to come to the weekend retreat, October 3rd to 5th. And
Yes.
it's for entrepreneurs or entrepreneurial minded. But the truth is, that's a good commute I can handle in my 90s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
it's
so,
right there.
and what also people miss is when they've asked for answers and they come, they chalk it up to coincidence. And the universe says, well, then I'm not going to give you any more because you didn't acknowledge that I just delivered.
Yes.
So what I
Yeah.
have been doing, I rampage. Esther Hicks calls it a rampage of appreciation. I'll be like every day, thank you for showing me that I'm going to have this at my house. Thank you for letting me have this commute. Thank you for letting me have a glass of wine while I'm teaching at 5 p.m. at night. Like, thank you for this amazing setup that I could have never imagined on my own.
Yes.
And
That and
to
it's
date,
that co-creation of what is in you and what is orchestrated outside of you.
unbelievable. And since this is my third company, and since this company, which is 3 years ago, I'm looking at my wall. I call it the wall of impact. It's all the pictures. We've had 96 events, seminars.
That's
So we've had
incredible.
over 3,000 people in and out of my house, literally. So every time I walk to that end of the house, which is where the restroom is, I see this wall of impact and it raises my vibration. And that's
Mm-hmm.
another thing I talk about. I kind of joke about it, but the truth is, I ask people if they have pictures around their house. And everybody says, yes, I have pictures. I love my pictures, my dogs, my kids. I'm like, well, do you put pictures of people you don't like
Huh.
around your
Okay.
house? Or pictures of places you don't like? And they're like, of course, that'd be silly. Right. Because when you walk past it, your vibration would lower.
Yes.
So we have some natural techniques, but I want people to take more of a proactive approach to
Yeah.
how they can raise their vibration. And one of them is by giving back and serving other people.
Beautiful, beautiful. Recognizing what we naturally are already doing and then empowering yourself more when you become the orchestrator of this, the architect of this, the magician with the wand of like, this is what I can even do to grow in what you're creating.
Yeah, it's funny. I use the word magician a lot. People call that for me, right? They say, wow, Flory, you're like magic. You make it happen. I'm like, it is because of that alignment. And by the way, you and I know we're human. It comes and goes. There's
Yeah.
moments we're completely aligned. And then like after 8 o'clock at night, not so much, you know?
Uh-huh. Yes, it's not constant, and so we're not trying to promote that consistence with or permanency in anyone. We're human too. It's a full spectrum. While also anyone can do this. You don't need certain degrees. Now, if that's what you want, go for it. Right? Take the inspired action. But anyone can orchestrate this within themselves.
Yeah, it really comes down to that awareness. Intention, awareness, mindfulness. It's like all the same word, right? Do you want to live a life by design or default? Do
Hmm.
you want to be proactive or reactive? Most people are reactive. They're living a reactive life,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Even now, I have 5 children, and they're all in their 20s, and we talk all the time about: are you designing your career? Are you designing the people you hang out with? Or are you just hanging out with who's around?
Mm,
Because design, everybody designs their car and their room and their house, but they don't design their life, right? They're not sitting back saying, really, what do I want out of this experience? And who do I want to be on this journey with?
yes. And that's the intention, being intentional, purposeful with
Very
it.
much.
Yeah. So I'm curious, since you shared at the beginning about having the miscarriage when you were 40, were your 5 kids after that, or did you already have some children?
No, I
Just
had
gonna
3
listen.
miscarriages at 40. So my whole life up until then was business and companies. I had built 2. This is my third. I built 2, sold 2, right? So since 18,
Mhm.
I really never worked for anyone. It's been a very serial entrepreneurial journey. So I had my first child at the end of my 40th year.
Look at that.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so she'll be 24, I'll be 65.
Yeah, and you don't look your age, you don't act your age. You have this vibrancy and youth to you,
I
and
know it's and listen, that attracts a lot of people to me, and I'm fine with that. Like, if you think about it, you are attracted to people's physical appearance, energy, knowledge, all of it. And all people know is, I like being around you
hmm
and I want to do what you're doing. So share it with me. That's the net walking. You
yes,
know, you can't be a bankrupt financial advisor,
hmm
right? I mean, it just doesn't work because you're not living your advice.
you're not living your advice. I yeah, and see things that you say that they just land because in being a therapist, there's a lot of trainings that you can do that say recommend this, recommend this. But if I haven't tried it, I'm not going to go and recommend for someone to meditate if I'm not meditating. So it's really that experience.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned, I'm also a nutritionist because I had my kids later in life. I needed to kind of get that. But you could eat like broccoli all day long and be very thin and be miserable. You
hmm
know, sometimes it's cheesecake that you need. You know,
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's really how you think about all of it. But when people see me and I'm in pretty good physical health for my age, they think I'm on this restrictive, rigid diet. I'm like, no, because that would go against the abundant mindset,
Yes.
right? So it's really all of these pieces
And
that really.
you're not judging yourself. I think it's when we have, and like you said, going back, the emotion that you add to it, that's what is the power or the decreasing of your frequency, not eating the cheesecake. It's I ate the cheesecake and now I hate myself for eating that.
And do you know there's statistic? I heard a few that
Mm.
it's 3 times the calories for the negative thoughts because you release cortisol. Cortisol
Oh,
stores fat. So, and that's why gender bias. A lot of people say, "Oh my God, my husband eats and he never gains weight because he's not thinking about it.
he's not thinking about
He eats the bagel and he's like, yay, bagel." So he's getting the calories from the bagel, but that's it. But we're thinking about the bagel for 5 days.
oh yeah.
And we're literally biologically releasing cortisol, and cortisol stores fat. So anyway, I had my first child at 40, and then I had my twins at 45, and
Mm.
then I got married, and I have two stepchildren.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I know that can be vulnerable for some people. So thank you for
No, I'm grateful. I mean, listen, to have twins at 45, I needed to be in great physical health. They
yes.
were both over 7 pounds. Like, so these were, and I was 45 years old and working, you know, but again, just mindful of all the pieces. Like, I keep showing the pieces because, to give a quick example, because I have a lot of people in the community, for example, who have cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cancer starts, if you looked at the pieces, physical, emotional, aspirational, cerebral, ethereal, cancer starts at the physical diagnosis. Something is happening in your body, but it very quickly becomes a relationship issue. It affects your goals, it affects your work, and it affects your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
So it started in one piece, but it finds its way to all the pieces. Take a different one. Take relationships. You get a divorce and you're going through a tough time. That's an emotional pain.
Mm.
You can get physically sick from that,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the stress.
Yes.
One more, cerebral work. You're a realtor and you land a $5 million house. You have a cerebral joy. For no good reason, your body feels better. Well, for a very good reason, because you're releasing chemicals that make you feel better. So I want people to be aware of, it's not okay just to have great work and the rest of the pieces aren't, because inevitably you won't be happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the
Mm-hmm.
pieces need to be aligned.
It's wholeness. And I heard in your one podcast where you were a guest on, which also resonated with me, that when you put all of these pieces together to create kind of the wholeness, your work isn't separate. You were talking about being on vacation, but you were posting on social media not because you felt like you had to, but because it's not work either. It's you have the energy, you feel inspired to do it, you put it on there, it promotes for your business, but you're also on vacation, spending time with your family, having fun, feeling emotionally fulfilled. It's serving all those areas where we don't have to have these different facets. They can all be one. And that to me is true authenticity.
Amanda, we're so synergistic, right? I mean, this dialogue, you can even feel the flow of it because you led me in to say, if you try to separate all the pieces, there isn't enough hours in the day. You want to try to find activities that merge them. So the one that you mentioned, I was working out with my daughter, right? So physical with my daughter, talking about her goals, her job. I was posting and we were both happy. I just went through all the pieces. So one activity covered all the
Uh,
pieces.
yeah, that I want that for me. And if this resonates with other people who are listening, for them to take that too. It's this modeling too that you are showing people, not just through these words, through this interview or conversation, but really through the modeling of what you're sharing through story from your soul.
Right, because your tagline, what's your tagline about stories?
The soul meets story and
Right.
story
So,
meets soul.
right,
Hmm.
because most people, everyone has a story. And what most people don't realize is when we share our stories, there's really two parts. A, I overcame this, or this is what I went through, so it's a motivational part. Part B, though, is how can my story help you?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
that's where I have my tweezers, right? This is like the extraction of how can your story help someone else? And a lot of people fail to take that step. So I want people to think of their stories as a motivational tool, but also how can it help people not make that mistake? You ever go to Disney and you could pay, $100, or you can pay 500 for the fast pass,
Huh?
right?
Yes. I'm going to
When you
Disney next week. Literally, we're going to Disney next week.
God. So you're going to go on the fast pass line and think about me. Because when you learn from someone else's experience, a story, it's like a fast pass,
Mm,
right? It's like I could
yes.
skip that line because you just gave me some wisdom. So when we share our stories, I want people to think of the motivational part plus the tool part. And one more thing with words, I want to mention everyone wants manifestation, which is I think it and it shows up. And in the old days and in religion, we call that a miracle. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's what I want people to know. For you to manifest and for miracles to happen, you have to be crystal clear on your intentions, right? Your thoughts, words, actions, and belief. The universe is reflecting your clarity. And the word miracle, letter for letter, is I am clear. So
Oh,
if
I
you
haven't thought about it that way. Mm,
so it's all about clarity. People are not clear. They are not communicating clearly. They're using words that are not clear to people. They
mm,
are using phrases that could be misinterpreted.
mhm.
Emojis. What does the mind blow emoji? To some people, it means absolutely wonderful. To others, it means negative. You freak me out. We are just not clear.
And that is
I,
in
yes.
sync with self. Yes, yes, because we think we know what we want, but really, what is the desire to get clear on?
And that's what's called, like, again, in the business world, we call that, or in the police world, right? We call that motive. Right? It's motive. Like if you don't know what the end goal is for you, you don't have to know how it's coming, but if you don't have that clarity, how can the universe deliver? You know the example I use real quick? I say if you go to a restaurant and you tell the maitre d' you want steak and the chef you want a hot dog and the cook you want salmon and then you get a hamburger, you're like, I didn't order that. And that's what the universe is saying.
Is saying,
You are
yeah,
confusing me, so I'm going to give you a mishmash.
mm, yeah. I think that helps people to put that into perspective and then take that to get clear on themselves. Take some time to write, talk to yourself, speak it out loud, but get clear on it.
Talk to
So,
other people, talk to anyone, read, go modality until if you're not clear, keep collecting, you know?
right, right. Oh, they're going to try practitioner, healer, professional, doctor after doctor after doctor, thinking there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. But my view is there is nothing wrong. It's this misalignment and the fragmentation that's giving symptoms to say, hey, you're not clear. You're not clear. It's just
You know,
listening to yourself.
after you have a flat tire, they ask you if you want an alignment. And I kind of joke and say, no, let's the four tires go in different directions, right? You have to get an alignment. The car needs to go straight, right?
Beautiful.
And that's the same thing. Thoughts, words, actions, belief, the four wheels on a car. Our life is the car. We're driving it. We need it straight.
Yes. Yes. So I'd like to spend a few minutes before we wrap up on intuition. And if you're okay with it, I have this Awakening Intuition deck. It was sent to me by one of my clients in the mail. Funny story is I had another client recommend this deck. They were like, Amanda, I think you would like this Awakening Intuition deck. I didn't buy this one. Instead, when I went to look for this one, I saw this one and I bought this one. Another client sent me this in the mail the next day, just by chance. What I'd like to use these decks for is more to tap in to see just what shows up. So it's not, in my view, it's not that the cards are giving you psychic information, but more so what does it bring up for us in this conversation. So I'm going to pull one at random and then if there's anything that comes to you from the card we get, or if you want to also talk a little bit about what intuition is to you. So
Beautiful.
I'm going to shuffle and then you tell me when to stop.
I look forward to this. Okay. Stop.
Okay. Right hand or left hand?
Left.
And then top or bottom? Bottom. All right. We have nurture intuitive relationships. I think that's what we're doing right here.
I think, yeah, we are practicing. Oh, are we reading what is on the card?
I'm going to read it. Yes.
Okay.
Others with a strong sixth sense normalize intuition and provide the fresh practices, tips, and tools. Nurture these relationships to develop, understand, and maximize your own intuition. Identify sensitive and supportive friends, colleagues, family members, or even join an in person or online community for sensitives and others like you. It takes a village to make sense of sensitivity.
I mean, that's like everything we talked about in one card. So
Yes.
find people who have the sixth sense, tools. It's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
Nurture. Something I want to say about nurture, the balance to nurture is nature. So nature is how we are born, and
Mm-hmm.
nurture is how we develop. And there'll be a lot of people who blame nature, but we all have nature issues and nature strengths. So you have the ability at any moment to nurture yourself differently, right? So that wake of the boat, that nature that you were born with, you are not stuck with anything, right? And
Mm-hmm.
again, I can just hear Wayne Dyer and Joe Dispenza. I can just hear them all coming because I've listened to so many podcasts. But Wayne Dyer says, people say, oh, I have this problem because I'm the oldest or I'm the youngest or I'm the middle child. In other words, there's always a reason. There
Always.
should
Yes.
always be a reason so nurture is our free card, nurture is I can go learn anything. I can meet anyone. I can change my thoughts. So I love
Yes,
when they
and I'm not bound by being the middle child syndrome. I'm not bound by the association from that narrative that you're putting on it. Yes, you were born a middle child. You may have had influences of being that, while also, right, the nurture is that neuroplasticity as a way to come out and rewire. And see, just from that card, if we didn't pull that card, you probably wouldn't have added in about nurture. So that's why I love the cards too.
Yeah,
Yes.
neuroplasticity, that's Joe again, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
Which is why people like in their 50s and 60s, they're like, learn piano, right? Make new neural pathways, muscle memory, right? Just like we work out our body, we have to work out our heart and our mind, all of it.
All
I
of it.
just love it.
Yes.
I have one parting thought on my end, and because I know we're wrapping up soon. So I don't know if you see, aren't these beautiful?
Yes, they are.
You know
Yes.
what these are? These
They,
are rose-colored glasses.
okay. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is the same concept of better reaching thought, cognitive reframing, and growth mindset. It doesn't mean ignore reality. It means shape reality to your benefit.
Mm.
And we really want to go through life wearing rose-colored glasses. And in the old days, that really meant like, oh, you're ignoring what's going on. You're just blowing smoke. You're just rationalizing. And Esther Hicks and all of them say, think whatever makes you feel better because it is all about your vibration. The oxygen mask goes on you first. You have to feel elevated and raised to affect any outcome and to affect any impact on others. So wear those rose-colored glasses and tell yourself anything. You get the flat tire. If I didn't get the flat tire, I might have had an accident 10 minutes later. Tell yourself anything. And the last analogy, I promise the last thing,
Keep
is
going.
I live on a lake, which is where I do the retreats, and I have a boat. It's still in the water. And every morning I'm on the second floor. I look out the window and the boat is up on a lift. But before we had the lift, the boat was in the water. And if the boat's in the water, when the waves came, the boat moved. You
Mm-hmm.
probably know where I'm headed with this. When the boat is on the lift, the waves don't affect the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to be the boat on the lift. And when I wake up in the morning and I look out the window, I say, let me be the boat on the lift.
Ah, yes. Yes.
And now, are there times where no matter what you do? Yes. 2 years ago, we had a microburst and even the boat on the lift fell off. So,
Fair.
fair enough, right? Some days you get a microburst. But
Yes.
on the average, you want to stay on the lift. It doesn't matter what's going on around you. It doesn't matter. And I know that's hard for people to hear because we're so reactive.
Huh?
We can
Uh-huh.
step back, we can pivot, we can get in the gap, find the sacred space, wear the rose-colored glasses, and protect our energy.
Yes, thank you. And really, by being up on the boat on the lift, by getting yourself there, you're increasing your capacity that when you do come down, you have the capacity, the tolerance for the negative, because that's just a part of our human life. But you're not being consumed by it. You're opening yourself to say, I can feel this. This is temporary, and then I'm going to go back to the boat on the lift.
Listen, I can't believe you led me into that last. I keep saying last, but
You're
you and
not
I,
going to be able to stop.
because what you know the analogy I used before a race, runners carb load. They carb load so that when they're running, they can release energy slowly. What you're saying is that's the analogy. Because the boat's been protected so long,
Protected.
that when it comes down, it's ready.
It's
It's
ready.
strong. But if it
Yes.
was being beat up all the time, then that next conversation is like, that's it. I'm done. I'm useless. My engine is over. Right.
Yes. Yes. And
So
thank you.
that mindfulness is about making sure we beef up, robust our energy so that when we are in those situations, it's like a bank account, right? I use that as a spiritual bank account. We have so
Mhm.
much money in the bank account, energy, that when we need to take out, we're still okay.
We're still okay. You're still okay. And that's that sense of security and safety and self. So, so much wisdom, Flory. How can people find you? Where can they go? How can they connect more with you, learn more from you?
Yeah. So the name of the company is not Awakened, but Awakened Events, because I wanted that to be AWE, because who doesn't
Mhm.
want to live in awe? And you can see right behind me somewhere, there's an alarm clock. That's the logo, right? Wake up to the power that's within you. So on social, it's A-Waken-Events. And you can text me. People like, really? I'm like, really? 914-844-6090. You can search for my name. I'm sure you'll put my name in
I'm
the
going to
tag.
put everything in the show notes. Yes.
Right. So reach out. We have 2 one-day seminars coming up. September 27th, we have a missing piece, which is an overview of the construct. 28th, we have extreme communications. And then October 3rd to 5th is a weekend retreat for female entrepreneurs. Then we take a little seminar break till the new year. But yeah, find me. Listen, who doesn't want to be in awe? We were born to be happy. We are just getting in our own way. And we talk about learning. It's really not about learning. It's about remembering. We
Mm-hmm.
know all of this. We've just lost some of it, right? So that's why it's called Awaken, right? It's really like it's all there. Wizard of Oz, you've got the power. You just forgot.
Yes, it's connecting back to the home that was always in yourself. We're not looking for it, searching for it. It's just connecting and attending and participating, experiencing these things that bring you back home.
Well, I'm telling you, this was amazing. I know it. I can hear it. I can feel it. And I hope the people listening thought it was amazing too.
Yes, me too. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here, showing up for yourself. Thank you, Flory. To all the listeners, just keep showing up for yourself. You amaze me. I love you.